So here at GDS, we're focused on making digital government simpler, clearer, and faster for everyone. I'm responsible for GDS's digital service platform. We provide services such as Notify, Pay, and the GOV UK design system. We've created these services to deliver simple, cost-effective products that integrate with gov.uk and can be used to support the needs of departments across the government. By providing common solutions to the way we all collect money or how we contact people provides time-saving digital solutions. It means there's no need to reinvent the wheel or go to market through lengthy and costly procurement exercises. We also want to make it easy for teams to use our services regardless of their technical skills, so that we deliver a package of accessible services that integrate seamlessly across the government and sit with gov.uk. To create these common solutions involves constant learning and sharing with government teams to understand your needs and how best our services can solve any problems that you have. We're here to make life easier for you and easier for the public. So thank you for joining us today. I hope you'll all enjoy hearing about one of our newest products, gov.uk Forms. If you've not come across Gov UK Forms before, it's our online form builder. It's a quick and easy way to create online forms, replacing the need for PDFs and document-based forms. As you'll see today, in just a matter of minutes, you can create a new online form that's quick to process and focused on accessibility, making it even easier for people to complete. Best of all, there's no need for any technical knowledge and it's completely free. I'll shortly be passing you over to Holly, our lead delivery manager, who will take us through how to start building forms. We'll hear from James, our lead technical architect. We also have John Plowman from the Driver Vehicle Standards Agency joining us today, and he'll be sharing the DVSA's experience of using gov.uk Forms and how it has helped him. Then Irina will take us through the next steps and future features. As I mentioned earlier, please add any questions you have to the chat, and the team will read those out after the presentations. And if you haven't already set up a trial account for yourselves, anyone across government with a .gov.uk email address can create one and start creating forms at gov.uk/forms. Choose the Get Started option. So, over to Holly to provide a demonstration of gov.uk Forms.
Thanks so much, Amanda. I'm just going to share my screen. Just bear with me for a minute, everyone. Sorry about this. Okay, so hopefully you can all see that. So for this demo, I'm going to show you what it would be like to create a form as an editor user, which is our standard user who can make forms live. As Amanda's mentioned, we have a trial account too. So as you can see, when we start off, we can see all the forms that users in our organization have already created. Sorry, some of these have slightly silly names because they're test forms. So however, I'm going to make a new form. So I'm going to click on create a form. We start off, sorry. Live demos are the worst. There we go. We start off by naming our form. There's lots of you on the call today, so I'm going to build a form so that you can give feedback on this webinar if you would like to. So I'll save and continue. I'm now showing a simple to follow step-by-step guide of what I need to do to get a form made. And labels on the right show the status of each. Only once all of these are marked completed can I make my form live. But a form is nothing without some questions. So let's add some questions. So I'll click here. Okay, so we ask people what type of answer they need for a question to help them get to the right type of question. You can see we've got several options here, but I'm first going to start by asking what your name is. Okay, so for answer types like name, date of birth and address, we use autofill, which automatically puts in people's personal information they have on their devices. This makes our forms more accessible and easy to use. To do this feature, we have to ask form creators how they'd like to collect a person's name. They can do it as one single box, 2 boxes, or 3, including a middle name. For this, I'm going to select full name in a single box. I'm not going to ask for title. Some forms do require this, so the option is there, but we like to remind users with this text here to think carefully about whether title or any other information is absolutely necessary. Okay, and then I'll click on continue. And here's where we fill in the details about our question. Let's start with the question title, which in this case is pretty simple. What is your name? You'll see I've added that as a question as if I was asking you to make it nice and clear for the person filling in the form. We can also add in some hint text. I'm just going to suggest that maybe people answer their name as it appears in their passport. Okay, this helps the user know what to answer. We don't need more detailed guidance for this question, but we will come back to this feature later. And we can mark it as optional if we want to here. But I don't want to do that right now, so I'm going to leave that unchecked. We can change any of the settings if we want, but I'm not going to, so I will click on Save Question. Next, I want to know which webinar the person attended, so I'll add another question, and I'm going to select Date as my answer type. So for the autofill reasons I've discussed, it now asks if I want a date of birth. I don't, and I'll continue. And then my question title is, sorry, I'm just copying and pasting from a Word document, so that's why there are slight pauses. What was the date of the webinar you attended? You can add a bit of hint text, and in this case, I'm going to copy and paste the example because that's fine, covers what I need. Again, I don't need guidance, and I don't want this one to be optional, so I just click on Save Question. Next, I need to know whether the person has used a form builder before. So to do this, I'm going to ask them a simple yes or no question. So I'm going to pick a selection from a list of options and then continue. And my question is going to be, have you ever built a form using a form builder? And I click on continue. Here I can add some additional settings. I can say I want users to select just one option instead of multiple, which I'm going to do because I only want one answer. And I can also provide a none of the above if I want to, but I don't want to do that. I just want a simple yes, there's my autofill, or no. Okay, so when I add guidance, oh, sorry, and then I'll click on continue. Okay, next up, I am going to add some hint text, which is just going to say select one option. Again, I'll use that. I don't want to add any more detailed guidance. Actually, I'm really sorry. I do want to add more detailed guidance to this question. So I'm going to just click on add guidance here. So first of all, I'm asked for a heading for my page, which makes it clear to the person filling in the form what this page is actually about, what sort of question they can expect here, and why I'm giving them some additional guidance. So what you can see down here is I've got a box that I can put my guidance in. I've got some I made earlier, which I'm copying and pasting from a Word document. As you can see, it's automatically pulled in my formatting for me. So it's turned my hyperlink into Markdown, and it's also picked up on my bullet points. I can go and check on preview there, and I can see that's all pulled through and looks great. If I wanted more formatting help, I've got a little accordion here, and I can read all about how to use Markdown if I want to. And I can also use these helpful buttons here to help me add links, bullets, and headers. Okay, so I'm happy with what that's looking like on my preview. So I'm going to click on continue. So I'm happy with this. I'll put in some guidance to say select one option because I didn't save that, which was silly. And then I'll click save question. Okay, and then I'm going to add another question. So if someone said they used a form builder before, I now need to ask for more detail about that experience. So I'm going to add a text question. It might be quite a long answer, so I'm going to ask for more than a single line of text. And my question will be, can you provide further details about the form builder or builders that you've used before? So again, I've just copied and pasted that. I'm also going to add a little bit of hint text, which again, I'm copying and pasting from my document, just to ask them to provide a bit of context of their use. So now my next, oh, sorry. Now next I could make this question optional so that those users who said they've not used a form builder before can just skip this question, but I'm going to do this in a slightly better way. So sorry, of course my voice is giving up. Sorry, everyone. So I'm going to save my question. Come on, internet. There we go. And then I'm going to go back to my questions. So you can see here all of the questions that I've made. If I wanted to, I could move the order around, so I can move them up and down using these buttons. And I can also go back and edit them from this screen if I want to. What I'm going to do now is add a route, so that if somebody hasn't used a form builder before, they only enter the information that they need to. So I'll just click on add a question route. At the moment, this can only be done from a question where you select one item from a list. I've only got one question type like that, so I'll select that question. And then if they're answering that no, they've never used another form builder before, then I want to take them straight to the check the answers before submitting page. So they'll skip that question entirely because it's not relevant to them. Okay, so those are my questions, and you can see now it details what my route is as well. Okay, so I'm done with my questions, so I'll add them, mark them as completed, and save and continue. Okay, great. So I'm done with my questions, and now what I'm going to do is whiz through everything else so that I can show you how to make this form live. Okay, so I'll add a declaration for people to agree to. This is really important if there are any legal ramifications for the form. Here, I'm just going to copy and paste the example because hopefully that's okay. And then I'll say this is complete, and I'll save and continue. Adding information about what happens next. This is what the user will see when they submit the form, and it gives them useful information about next steps or further actions they might need to take. Again, for ease, I'm just going to copy and paste the example text here. Again, you can add formatting here if you want to, similar to what we saw on the detailed guidance. There's formatting help again down here, and you can add bullets, numbered lists, and links. We don't have headers here though. Okay, so I can preview that, looks good, and then I'll save and continue. Okay, so you can see those are all showing as completed. Next, I want to set the email address that my completed forms will be sent to. In this case, I'm going to use my own email for ease, but that could be a shared group email or whatever is needed by the people building the form. So I'll save and continue. Now what's happened is a confirmation code has been sent to my email address. So I'll just pull that from my email. And that's just to make sure there's no spelling errors in the email address. It's definitely the one that you want to use, just to add a vague level of security as well. So I'll enter the email address confirmation code there, save and continue. Great, so it tells me that my email address is confirmed, and it confirms again where my completed forms will be sent to. And then I can go back to continue creating a form. And as you can see, this section is now completed. Okay, last two, we're nearly there. Providing a link to privacy information for this form. You probably all know why we need to provide a link to privacy information, so I won't explain that to you, and I am just going to copy and paste the example as well. There is obviously lots of content here to help people building forms if they do need more information. Last one is providing contact details for support. Again, this will be for the person filling in the form. So if I want to give them an email address, a phone number, or an online contact link, I can do all three. Or if I don't want to do all three, I can just say I don't want to give them my Gmail. That would be a terrible idea. I'll give them my Cabinet Office email. So if you need any help while you're filling in this form, you'll come through to me and I'll do my best. And then I will save and continue. Okay, so I've completed everything. Before I make my form live, I'm going to preview the form and show you what this will look like for a form filler-inner. I'm going to move to a different tab, and I'm just going to double check that you can see that. Yeah, okay, great. Okay, so as you can see, there's lots of messaging to say this is a preview of the form, reminding you not to enter personal information. It says draft all over the shop. What's your name? It's being very careful. So I'll enter my name. Again, my autofill is working because that's how we've designed this. If I want to get help, there's that email that I put in earlier, and that'll appear on every page. So I'll continue. The date of the webinar I attended is today's date, which of course is the 1st of February. And it's 2024, which I keep forgetting. And then continue. Have you ever built a form using a form builder? I am going to say no. And then I'm going to continue. I can see all the guidance there. And if I want to, I can click for further information. But I think it's a no. So I'll click there. And then I come to the final screen, which shows me all the answers that I've filled in and what I've put in there. Now, I've realized that actually I have used a form builder before. So I'm going to go back and I'll say yes. And now you'll see that I see this additional question asking me for further details. So I'll just say built a form so that you can see that pulling through. So now you'll see I've got 4 answers and it's pulled through that final answer there. And you can also see that I've just used that change functionality, which users can use at any stage to go back and change any of their answers. I also get asked if I want to get an email confirming my form has been submitted. Again, I'll use my own Cabinet Office email. And then there's a declaration, and by submitting this form, I'm agreeing to that declaration that I added. Agree and submit, then I get the what happens next form, and there's that text I added in there as well as a big green box to tell me that everything's gone well. Okay, great. So I'll go back to my form. That preview all looked good. Then I'll click on Make Your Form Live. A little bit of information about where it needs to be published. So that will be on Gov UK, and you'll need to speak to your publishing team. And then I click on Yes to say Make it live, save and continue. And there's my form, it's live. So I'll copy that URL to the clipboard and I'll share that with you all in the chat. So if anybody does want to give some feedback on this webinar, it will go directly to me, but I'm happy to read it. So you can send it over, and that's all from me. I'm going to stop sharing my screen if I can work out how to. And I will, okay, I don't know what is happening with my Zoom. I will sort this out. Apologies. I'll stop sharing my screen. I have stopped. That's fine. And I'm going to pass over to our lead technical architect, James Shepherd. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks very much, Holly. Well done on a successful live demo. Always a challenge. So yes, hi everyone, I'm James Shepherd. I'm a technical architect at the Government Digital Service. I'm going to give you a very brief technical overview. So here's gov.uk Forms, where created forms such as the one you just saw Holly create in the demo, that's where they get stored. Users will follow a link on gov.uk that will take them to the form that they need to complete. The user will provide answers to the questions, again, just as you saw in the demo. And when they submit the form, that'll be sent by email to the address you specify. And for forms with low submission volumes, manually processing each form might be appropriate to your needs. But for larger volumes, you may want to consider some form of automation. And in fact, we've already seen teams starting to do this. It was mentioned earlier about you not needing technical knowledge to use this system. That's absolutely correct. But if you do have it, or you have access to people with technical capabilities within your organization, you may be interested in other approaches. This isn't available yet, but we are actively looking into how we might provide structured data, such as in a JSON payload, through to some sort of system integration on your side. And we're very keen to talk to people about this. I'll give you some details shortly. Gov.uk Forms follows the 14 cloud security principles from the NCSC, the National Cybersecurity Centre, so including things such as data in transit protection, asset protection and resilience, having a governance framework, and using identity and authentication. This will be of relevance to you if you have some kind of internal process, some sort of internal governance process that you might need to go through before your organisation starts to use gov.uk for live forms. So in summary, please get in touch with us if you'd like to talk about automated form processing, if you'd like to talk about how we might integrate your systems with gov.uk Forms, if you want to talk about your own technical governance and approval processes and how we can support you with that, or indeed if you have any other technical questions. I will provide the links in the chat just after I finish speaking. And finally, from me, point 12 of the gov.uk service standard talks about making new source code open, and we've tried to do this wherever possible on forms. So again, we've made our source code available on GitHub, and again, I will provide the link in the chat if this is something of interest to you. Thanks for your attention. I'm now going to hand over to John from the DVSA.
Thank you very much, James. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm John Plowman. I'm the head of content design at the Driver and Vehicle Standards Agency, or DVSA. We've been a beta partner with gov.uk Forms for about a year now. We've so far published 7 gov.uk forms. We actually published our 6th and 7th forms at 11 AM today, which just coincidental that it was with today's webinar. And so far we've had about 2,000 submissions from users from across all of our forms. We've got about 130 more document-based forms published on gov.uk, so there's lots more to do. But I wanted to share 3 things with you about our experience of working with gov.uk Forms so far. So the first point is that we'd recommend getting an organisation-wide approach to the adoption of gov.uk forms. For example, in DVSA, we've decided that we'll centralise the design and publishing of gov.uk forms in our content design team. That might not be right for your organisation, but that's what's working best for us. There are other things that you'll need to agree in your organisation if you haven't already. For example, what's your definition of a form? What's your process for creating privacy notices for forms? How are you going to monitor their performance? How are you going to collect feedback from users and from your colleagues who are dealing with the form submissions? And how are you going to prioritise which forms to convert to gov.uk forms? And that brings me on to my second recommendation. Make sure you have a really good record of all the externally published forms in your organisation. It can be really helpful as you're doing that to look at how complex the existing forms are and categorise them, looking at things whether or not they need supporting documents, for example. Do users need to make a payment with them? And which service areas do they belong to? We've also found it's really helpful to keep a record on whether or not there's already work taking place in your organisation to transform that form or the process that it's part of as part of building a digital service, for example. And also think a bit wider than just document-based forms like PDFs or Word forms you have. We're using gov.uk forms to collect structured information from users. So we found that there are lots of places on gov.uk where we ask users to email sets of information to us. For example, send your name, your driving license number, your driving test reference number, and your postcode to us. So what our teams find is that when users are asked to email lists of information to them like that, users tend to send maybe one or two of the pieces of information and forget the second and the third or the fourth. And then our teams need to go back to the user and ask for that missing information. It's time consuming and it's frustrating both for our colleagues and for users. So we've started to replace some of those email processes with gov.uk forms. So users can then only send the form after they've given everything that we need. And in lots of cases, the data can be validated too in the input as the user's typing it in. You can work with your content team to audit where you have email addresses on gov.uk collecting structured information by using the Gov search tool. So if you're not from a content team, it's well worth going and talking to your content team about how to do that. The third and final thing that I wanted to share with you is that gov.uk forms, as you will have seen in the demo, is very easy to use. And we're regularly seeing improvements and new features being added based on the feedback that we're giving. And that's really nice to see that when we give a suggestion that a few weeks later, a new feature is being shipped or a refinement is being shipped. And all of this is saving teams at DVSA time. And we want to work with GDS to help quantify how much time and money we're starting to save so that we can share that more broadly and help you all understand kind of why you might want to start adopting gov.uk forms. I do want to just share one piece of feedback that I absolutely love from a processing team in DVSA. They're getting obviously the form submissions coming in, and based on the emails that they're now getting, they say that they look awesome. It's really easy for them to action now, and it gives them all the details that they need, which is a huge improvement for that team. So if you're thinking about using gov.uk forms, but are worried it might be hard to use, don't be. It isn't. It'll make life easier for your colleagues and for your users. So I'm going to pass you over now to Irina, and she's going to tell you about the next steps for gov.uk forms.
Brilliant. Thanks a lot, John. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Irina, and I'm the lead product manager on GOV UK Forms. So I'll talk you through our roadmap, and as part of that, hopefully answer some of the questions that have been raised on the meeting chat. And then I'll also talk you through kind of our wider work next. Let's go through a little bit what's coming up for us. A few provisos before I go into it. this is a roadmap. As everything, as best laid plans, this is subject to change. We always are open and work together with departments. So as and when we find the information, there might be a need to slightly pivot and change some of this. But currently, this is our this is how we'll endeavor to transform and build on what we already have. So as you've seen, we have a very powerful tool already, but there are a few more kind of significant features which we're hoping to ship in the next year. So currently, we are working on the ability to add a payment link to a form, so forms can accept payments, and this is powered by another great product that we have in our GDS platform suite, GOV UK Pay. We're also making significant improvements to our user access management processes. This would allow departments, including the DVSA, to have this more centralized control function, whilst also working through things and using GOV UK Forms in a much more self-service way. It would also kind of allow us as a Forms team to be in control and to make sure that our platform is used in the right way and is scalable. We're hoping, currently we are in private beta, so this means we have restricted a bit the access. We are hoping to go into public beta in the spring, so hopefully in April, at which point everyone will be able to start creating a lot more forms in a more self-service way with GOV UK Forms, and we're very excited for this. Once we're in public beta, the hard work actually starts. We have a lot more features to add. So we will be doing some work behind the scenes to move on to a different way that we send our emails to form processors. So that would unlock the ability for forms to also accept uploading supporting documentation, as many forms obviously do. I don't know, such as like birth certificates. We'll also be adding the ability for questions to have multiple answers to the same question. So for example, if you have address history for the last 5 years, often you've moved places, you want to add multiple answers. Thereafter, we want to work on adding more submission types. So this is James, our technical architect, already alluded to this, and there was a question in the chat about being able to submit and accept structured data in alternative ways to email, so that forms with high volumes or with teams that are more digitally enhanced can develop that. We are also aware that some long forms would require kind of save and return functionality, so we're hoping to add that later this year and integrate that with our another GDS product, the One Login product, so that's the digital identity product. As someone in the chat flagged, there is also a lot of, some forms are very complex with some very complex branching and routing requirements. So we'll be developing that feature towards the end of next year. And alongside that, there will also be the preview and version control where departments have even more control of how forms evolve and versioning and previews. So hopefully that would kind of unlock a lot of those key fundamental features to ensure that the majority of the forms out there can be transformed with GOV UK Forms. Now, this is the roadmap, but there are a few things that I didn't cover which are worth considering and will be doing over the next year as well. So first and foremost, it's kind of non-negotiable. Now that we have live forms published on GOV UK Forms and going forward, our top priority is running a secure, accessible, and available platform. And this includes multiple things, from kind of running external penetration testing and internal information assurances, making sure we are always accessible to WCAG 2.2, and making sure that we have a highly available platform that meets the needs of our form creators as well as form fillers, i.e. the citizens. We work really closely with our users and with departments that use us, and in the future we want to continue working wherever possible in partnership, as you saw the kind of DVSA example as well. So that would continue, and we're very open to kind of you reaching out and helping us shape things as we go along. A lot of our features are already really great, as you saw from Holly's demo. However, there is more iteration improvement we need to do to make sure they're even more powerful and kind of more integratable at scale. And there was a question about local authorities in the meeting chat. We are aware this is a great product and everyone wants to use it. We want to open up to the wider public sector. However, we want to make sure that we first have a scalable product for central government, as this is our core mandate here at GDS. So we are going to open up to the wider public sector, but probably will not be this calendar year thing. However, stay tuned, look at our public roadmap, which is on our product page, for any kind of changes to what we said and how we are going to approach it.
Okay, thanks everyone for your questions. I'm going to hand back over to Amanda to wrap up. Thanks.
Thank you to all of you for joining us today, and you asked some really insightful and engaging questions. It's great to see everybody taking an interest in this new product. Thank you to our speakers, Holly, James, John, and Irina. I hope you all found today's webinar useful. Don't forget to sign up for more information on our Forms product page, which is gov.uk/forms, and click the Get Started button to sign up for a trial account. I truly look forward to seeing more of your forms live on gov.uk in the future. Thanks so much for coming.